All right, today we're cracking open a mystery that's 70 million years in the making. And believe it or not, it connects the way a tiny baby chick hatches from an egg to its absolutely gigantic and kind of ferocious ancestors.
Have you ever actually seen a chick hatch? If you have, it's this tiny, everyday miracle, right? It's a real struggle, this fight for that very first breath of air. But here's the thing, it's not random at all. There's this incredibly specific, coordinated series of movements that makes the whole thing possible. And it's not just the chick trying to get comfy in there. Nope, it's a really complex, neurologically controlled behavior called tucking, and it is absolutely critical. This one move positions the beak perfectly to crack open the shell and, take that first breath. So that brings us to the big question. We all know modern birds evolved from dinosaurs, specifically a group called theropods. But this whole complex hatching behavior, did it evolve with the birds or did it start way, way earlier? Well, for paleontologists, this has been a massive puzzle. I mean, you can't exactly go back in time and watch a dinosaur hatch, right? You need evidence, you need a fossil. And not just any fossil, you'd need a perfect little embryo, still inside its egg, frozen in that exact moment just before hatching. The chances of finding something like that, they're astronomical. Yeah, remarkably rare might be the understatement of the century. Just think about it. Over 70 million years? What could go wrong? Well, pretty much everything. The egg gets crushed, it rots from the inside out, the tiny, delicate bones just scatter to the wind. Finding a whole intact embryo, it's literally like finding a needle in a geological haystack. But every now and then, against all the odds, someone finds the needle. So, deep in the late Cretaceous rocks of southern China, researchers stumbled upon something extraordinary. A fossil so perfect, so complete, it was the exact thing scientists had been hoping to find for decades. And when they did, the scientific community was just stunned. This wasn't just another embryo fragment. No way. It was hailed as one of the most complete ever found. This one single perfect fossil, it held the key to finally solving that whole hatching mystery. So let's meet the star of the show. Its official name is a mouthful, YLSNHM01266, but everyone calls it baby Yingliang. It's an oviraptorid, which is a type of feathered, bird-like theropod, and it's almost fully developed. Its little skeleton is about 23.5 centimeters long, curled up perfectly inside its egg, just waiting for a life it sadly never got to live. Okay, and this is where we get to the really critical part of this whole discovery. It wasn't just that they found an embryo, it was how it was positioned inside the egg. That posture, it tells an incredible story. All right, so let's get on the same page about what tucking actually is. It's this very precise posture, you see. The embryo's back is curled up against the big, blunt end of the egg, and its head is tucked neatly under its right wing. This aims the beak just right so it can break through the shell. It's a really key evolutionary trick for birds. Now, to really get why this is a big deal, you have to look at the dinosaurs' closest living relatives. You've got crocodilians on one side. They have a pretty simple sitting posture. Then you have birds on the other with this complex tucking move. So the big question was, where does a dinosaur like baby Yingliang fit in? Is it more croc or more bird? So when the scientists finally got a good look at the fossil, they saw something they had never seen before in a non-avian dinosaur. Its back was curled up toward the blunt end of the egg, check, and its head was tucked down underneath its body, right between its feet. And that position, it looked very, very familiar. And that was the big aha moment. Baby Yingliang was in what you'd call a pre-tucking phase. I mean, it hadn't managed to get its head all the way under its wing yet, but it was in the exact same position a modern bird embryo gets into just before it makes that final tuck. The similarity, it was just undeniable. And that, right there, is why this fossil is so incredibly important. It's not just some cute, curled-up dinosaur baby. It is a direct behavioral link between an ancient dinosaur and a bird you could see in your backyard today. What this tells us is that this complex, brain-controlled behavior needed for hatching, it didn't just pop into existence with the first birds. No, the groundwork was being laid millions and millions of years earlier, in their theropod ancestors. So this led the researchers to their big idea. that this pre-hatching behavior, something we thought was so uniquely bird-like, actually got its start with non-avian theropods. It basically rewrites a small but really important chapter in the story of evolution. But wait a minute. This raises another question, doesn't it? If this behavior was maybe common, why on earth have we never seen it before? Well, to get that, you have to understand what an absolute miracle it is that this fossil even exists.
I mean, it's a fair question, right? Dinosaurs laid billions, probably trillions of eggs over 150 million years. You'd think we'd be practically tripping over perfectly preserved embryos. But the hard reality is, the process of decay almost always wins the race. So here's what typically happens. An egg gets buried. The soft stuff inside starts to break down, bacteria get to work, and they produce gas. It's a process called putrefaction. That gas builds up and builds up inside the shell until, pop! The egg cracks, the delicate little skeleton gets completely obliterated, and any chance of it becoming a fossil is gone forever. So for fossils like baby Yingliang to even have a chance, something has to stop that whole process in its tracks. You need some really rare, very specific conditions. Maybe it's a sudden mudslide that buries it in just the right kind of sediment with just the right chemistry. Or maybe it's a blast of heat that basically mummifies the embryo, preserving it long before it has a chance to rot.
So think about that. This one little fossil didn't just have to survive 70 million years of being squished underground. First, it had to win an impossible race against its own decay, probably within just a few days of being buried. It's a true snapshot of a moment in time, a moment that was almost certainly destroyed every other time it happened.
And all of this leaves us with a really fascinating thought to chew on. If a behavior as complex as tucking actually started with dinosaurs, what else did? Brooding their eggs on a nest? Maybe even certain kinds of vocal communication? This one little embryo, saved by a complete fossilization miracle, has just blown the door wide open on a whole new set of questions about the secret lives of dinosaurs.